I think that makes a lot of sense. But if AJ's gone, then everybody's in. All the you're not going to be in a position to get Tate or Lemon, and probably not Tyson.
Where
Although
do you think
there's
Tyson will go? I was thinking 15 to 25, somewhere in there.
yeah, he might fall, but yeah, he's going to be in that range. I don't think he'll fall to 23. So I think those are the three receivers off the board. And then you start talking about the, Concepcion's, who I like a lot, probably drops it too much. Denzel Boston, Chris Bell, as you mentioned. And if you don't have AJ, Chris Bell's maybe more interesting to you than if you do have AJ because of his size. Same thing with the kid from Notre Dame, Malachi Fields. Like, if you do have AJ, I don't think you're interested in Malachi Fields. If you don't, I think you might be interested in Malachi Fields because he's so big and strong and, can at least replicate some of those things. If you have AJ, I think you're looking at guys like Branch who are, smaller, faster, shiftier. So I think it changes a lot. But for the position, yeah, I think they're getting a receiver either way. They have him or they don't have him. I think they want to get another receiver.
Yeah, the Tyson kid, I like him. I think he could fall because of the injuries, John. I think he had a big knee injury in 22, and then I think he had
Yeah, he's had some
collarbone and
injuries.
hamstring. Yeah, he's had some injuries, so maybe that would be a potential. But there are some good names as you mentioned, and as you talked to Daniel Jeremiah. John, real quick takeaways from your conversation with Daniel Jeremiah yesterday. I think he's one of the true best draft guys out there. I know you've said that as well, and I obviously value your opinion when it comes to that. Any takeaways? Any other big takeaways from the Daniel Jeremiah conversation you had?
Well, remember Daniel used to work for Howie
Right.
way back, but it's getting to the point where I think Daniel doesn't see some of the evolution of Howie because he has evolved. Like, and Daniel's great, by the way. Don't get me wrong, but um, he's got the old school thinking of Howie Roseman, like offensive line.
Right.
He's not going to take a tight, like he got asked about the tight ends. He got asked about Sadiq. He's like, that's not Howie's MO. Well, it wasn't when he was there, when he was here. Um, it might be now if he's the best player. I could see them taking Sadiq at 23. Again, the board has got to fall that way. And he was more of Max Klare type guy. Problem is with the Eagles, you know, they have, I think, let me see. They have 23, 54, and 68 on the first 2 days right now. They need about 6 positions. They can't take them all. They want a receiver. They want a tight end. They want an offensive lineman.
Yeah, right.
You're not going to. A lot of people think they want a quarterback. You know, I mean, cornerback too. Everybody's like, you got to take a cornerback too. You can't take everybody. Safety. There's about 6 positions. And obviously, with those 3 picks, they're not going to generate 6 positions. So it's going to be about how the board falls. But those are some of the positions they'll be looking at. But to my point about wide receiver, they want to add a wide receiver, but maybe have to do it in a different way
Right.
and that's with AJ Brown. If the board doesn't fall your way, again, you're not. If you do like, and that's why I brought up some of the tips. So, in a world where you have AJ Brown, if they do like that, a specific receiver, just as I said with Fautano, doesn't mean if that guy's not on the board, you just go to the next receiver. They might not like that guy. So I'll use, so Zachariah Branch, if they like him, the next guy on the big board I'm looking at is Skylar Bell. That doesn't mean you're taking Skylar Bell. They might like Skylar Bell. I don't know if they like Branch, but you get my point.
Yeah, right.
So then they might shift positions because they have so many needs and far more needs than they typically do.
Yeah, well, that's a good point, John. We will see what they end up doing there in that opening round. I think the later rounds are even more interesting for this Eagles team. John, what do they have? They have 8 overall pick. Is that where they are? They're 8, right? 8 overall picks in this year's draft.
I just had it up. Let me pull it up. 1, 2,
Pretty sure
3, 4,
that's what I thought it
5.
was.
And then they'll have their compensatories. Yeah, they'll be about 8. Yes.
And when do they?
But the compensatory
compensatory
selections are usually at the owners meeting in the spring. So they're technically not official yet. But they will be, there's no concern, just where they're going to be. That's why. So you can say right now, you can say they have the 23rd pick, the 54th pick, the 68th pick, but you can't say what they have in day 3 because you don't know. You don't know the numbers yet because you don't know the compensatory selections yet.
So we'll find out what ends up happening there. John, you just ran down wide receiver pretty well. A lot of good options there, and I'm in agreement with you that even if AJ's back, you're most likely gonna bring in a receiver. Even if they don't have as big of a role in year 1. I agree with that. Probably not round 1, obviously, but I do think they'll bring somebody in. John, next position I want to run down, and you mentioned it a little bit there with tight end. Kenyon Sadiq is the big name, John, getting all the love, but I don't think that's the name for the Eagles. As much as I like that player, I just don't see them using their first-round pick. Now, maybe they do. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. I wouldn't hate the pick if they ended up doing it. But, John, some other options there. You mentioned Klare or Klare or however you pronounce it, the Ohio State kid. He's 6'5". Kind of reminds me – I saw somebody comp him to Zach Ertz, which I thought was a good comp. For him, good hands, runs pretty good routes, but he's not the best in the blocking game. Could he get better at that? Do they need that as much, John? I don't know. Do they need that as much with the potential offense? What do you see at tight end, and how do you see the Eagles addressing it? Because right now, John, not many under contract, if any. Goedert's not, Calcaterra's not. I know they have a couple of the back end guys, I think, that are still under contract. You mentioned, but for the most part,
EJ Jenkins and EJ Jenkins and Jaheim Bell are under futures contracts. That's it. That's all that's under contract from the tight end position. Everybody else is a free agent. So they may have to rework the whole room. I've seen some things that Dallas Goedert would be interested in coming back, which surprises me a little bit. So if they get him back, that could ease up some of the necessity to add a tight end because, as I said, you got a bunch of different positions. But I mean, DJ Daniel Jeremiah, that's exactly where he wants was Max Klare as a potential option the second. He compared him to Sam LaPorta. I take that.
Ooh,
That's if you could.
That's a pretty
I take that.
There,
yeah. I don't like those comps, but yeah, people obviously I take
Wait,
that.
so where did they mock him? Where did they project him? Second round?
Potential second rounder, and that's where they took Dallas Goedert. But again, they have so many positions, you can't just say they're going to take a tight end in the second round. Now I just pulled up their draft picks, so they're going to get obviously compensatory picks in round 4, round 5, and they should have one in round 3 as well. So at the end of round 3. So that'll get him to 4 picks on day 1. But that'll be late, obviously. That'll be 100, 101, somewhere in that range. So later in the 3rd round. So I don't think somebody like that lasts that late. So you got to be careful. But there's a lot of tight ends. It's a deep draft for tight ends. There's only one who's going to go in the 1st round, and I agree. But there's a bunch of guys who can probably contribute and certainly be upgrades as your tight end too. But can one of them handle? Can one of them be Sam LaPorta right away? Well, that'd be a home run.
John, Sam LaPorta is a pretty good player. As you don't know, we'll see about that. All right, John. So tight end, where would you pop Penny down? You can change, but where would you project right now? Where do you think they would take a tight end? Because it is a pretty big need. I mean, if Goedert does walk, I don't know if he will, but if he does, I mean, it's a pretty big need.
I think if you look at, you have 3 picks, obviously, and the high pick in the 3rd round is from the Hassan Reddick trade. So that worked out well because it's the Jets. So it's near the top of the 3rd round. And then you'll have one at the bottom of the 3rd round. So I think in one of those 2 picks, they'll probably come away with the tight end. I think that's the sweet spot. The question is who remains. I think obviously Sadiq's going to be a 1st rounder. Then most people think Eli Stowers from Vanderbilt's the number 2, and then would come Max, Sam LaPorta, Klare. So would he last to that? I don't know. So then you start thinking about Jack Endries and Michael Trigg and Justin Jolly, who we talked to, Jolie, Sam Roush. I know a lot of people like. I like him because he's big. And I just look at the way the 49ers use Kittle, and I'm not trying to compare him to Kittle, but, Kittle plays in line a lot. And I think they prefer that to be able to at least do both. And maybe he has the capability of doing it. But yeah, if you got to remake the whole room, you can't draft a bunch of tight ends. So you're going to have to get one guy that contributes right away.
Where do you think that would be? You think it would be a cheaper free? Like this is my dilemma with Goedert. Like I get your point about maybe the player makes it hard because of the pay cut and some of that stuff. That makes sense to me. But from an Eagle perspective, like where are you going to replace Goedert for much better value than what Goedert's going to be if your plan is not to just roll out whoever your top draft pick is? It's good. Not that easy to do, especially if Goedert's going to make, I don't know, what do you think he's going to make this year? 10 mil, 11 mil, 12 mil?
Well, he made 10 last year.
Yes, I mean, he got 10 last year. Does it go down this year? Does it go up?
Well, he had 13 touchdowns. I would think it would go up. But he is,
For what, 30 something, 30?
He is 31. So, I mean, that affects, and I'm sure the Eagles will hope it'll go down, but I think somebody's going to pay him.
Sometimes sports make you realize how quick the time goes. Feels like yesterday, Dallas Goedert got drafted.
Yeah, I mean, but what's interesting, and I wrote about this on Sports Illustrated, the Eagles usually don't play in the middle class of the NFL. And they had one player on their entire roster last year that made between $8 million and $15 million. One player. That's like the middle class of the NFL. So the Eagles have a bunch of stars, and then they fill it in with a bunch of cheap guys, either on rookie contracts or 1 year Tamu guys. They had one guy, and it was Dallas Goedert, who made $10 million. That's it. They don't play in the middle class. You know, maybe they rethink that. But they haven't worked that way. And I don't know. The Goedert stuff is a tough one. Well, it wasn't a good thing last year. I mean, they have a lot of good players, obviously. And like that's what you do. You find good players and then you fill in I think usually that's the strategy. Unfortunately, you know, they have some good players that now have some health issues and didn't play like they played before. Most of them for health reasons, but and some other reasons as well for different players. But you had a whole bunch, and I've been talking about this for a long time. You had a whole bunch of star players who didn't play up to their star reputations last year, especially on offense. And when that happens, and you're built the way the Eagles are built, you have a 5-win season. Like facetious 5-win season. In the Eagles' case, they had a good season, not a great season. In reality, so that's, you know, you gotta make the right decisions, and these guys got to stay healthy and play at a optimal level. And for the most part, they've made the right decisions. Like, I will not tell you if Landon Dickerson comes back and plays poorly again, and that's it. I will not tell you he's a failure as a player. I mean, they got more out of Landon Dickerson than they could have ever wanted if he never takes the field again.
Yeah, it's true. I agree with you. As unfortunate as it is, if it's this short, I agree with you.
And the same thing with all those guys for the most part. They've all passed the ROI investment scale. You know, they already got the return on the investments, but if it doesn't last as long as you hope, you know, the back end's going to be a little ugly because you paid them so much money.
Interesting there, Johnny Mac. We'll see what they end up doing with that. John, I want to go into OT a little bit. The tight end position is interesting. I do agree with a lot of what you said there. John, offensive tackle. I mean, I'm no expert and I'm no professional, and I'm not going to sit here and try and tell people, you know, that I think what I think is the best. But when I look at the draft, to me, John, the best value for the Eagles in round one is a tackle. Whether Lane's here, which he is going to be here, what it's tackle. I mean, I look at there's a lot of tackles. I think there's a lot of good tackles. I mean, you got the guys at the top. You got Francis Mogiai, or however you say his name, and Spencer Fano. I think they're going way early, so I don't think the Eagles are in range for them. But I mean, I think the guys down near the Eagles' range, even 15 later, make a lot of sense. I mean, you brought up the name Kadyn Proctor. Maybe he's not the perfect fit, but how about the other Utah kid, Caleb Lomu? I mean, that kid's a stud. I think there's a lot of really good tackles in this draft, John. What are you thinking about the Eagles and their approach to tackle in this draft? The end of Lane is coming, John. You can't wait for it to happen and slap you in the face.
That, like I said, they've been looking for it for years.
Yep.
And I don't think it changes.
But is this the year they strike and they don't let it slip away? Because it's now it feels like you're in, you know, do or die, not do or die, but you know what I mean? Like, you got to do it now because Lane might be done after this year.
Well, again, you don't do it just to do it. Again, if you like Freelings, for instance, a lot of people have focused on Blake Miller and Freeling when it comes to the Eagles. If they like that player, I guarantee you all those names, even though they all look good on paper, I guarantee you they don't like all of them. I guarantee you.
Oh, that's for sure.
For whatever reason. And you know, so when you say yes, I mean, they're foundationally, and they know they have to start rebuilding the offensive line, not just for Lane, but for other guys as well. because of what's going on. And they have to start repopulating a little bit. And they already started, but it's a bunch of day 3 picks last year. You'd prefer to have more, a better piece of clay to work with, so to speak. But you're 23rd, so you're at the mercy of the 22 teams in front of you. And if you like Lomu, or Freeling, and whoever's at 22 takes them, you're not just going to take Blake Miller if you don't like it, or the next guy on the board.
The prospect of Proctor is growing on me quick, and it's not because I'm an Alabama guy. I know that he might not fit as a guard, but I think
he would fit as a guard if Jeff Stoutland was here.
Right, that's the problem. What I mean.
And then you have the curveball of how do things change now, or if they change, or if Howie just says, "I'm just taking good players," because Sean Mannion's probably not going to be here next year anyway. Either we win the Super Bowl and he's gone, or we play shitty and he's gone.
Right.
So my thought is Howie's probably just going to take who he thinks are the best players, understanding the coaching upheaval in this league, which is only getting worse because of the impatience, not just of the Eagles, but everybody. So yeah, I look, I'll always bet offensive line before any other position with the Eagles. So there's a good chance they're going to take an offensive lineman at 23. But, there was a good chance they would have took one in 2024 and they didn't get him. Right. He didn't fall. So it all depends on that. I think that, and that's what I was trying to say before. So again, I'll look at this big board. So, you have Mauigoa is number 1, so he's not going to be there. Fano's not going to be there.
No,
and then you start.
They're probably top 7 or 8 picks.
Yeah, so they're not even in the realm. And then you start getting to the guys. Lomu, he might not be there either, but you start getting in the realm of Proctor, Lomu, Freeling, the kid from Arizona State that I can't pronounce his name. Daniel Jeremiah is high on him, by the way.
Yeah, but what's that kid? That kid's name is Max Iheanachor or
Iheanachor or something. We'll go with Iheanachor.
Man, yeah.
He mentioned him in relation to the Eagles. Let me try to get that. Blake Miller as well. Those are the guys you're talking about.
Blake Miller is the Clemson kid, is that right?
Yeah. Those are the guys you're talking about. And I guarantee you the Eagles like some of them and they don't like others. It's not, that's what I'm trying to say. It's
as a reporter for you, John, is it tougher this year because of no staff? You know what I mean? The first time
it's definitely tougher because right. Like to me, Proctor's like a perfect fit for Jeff Stoutland. Like that'd be my mock guy right now. Right. The perfect fit. I don't think he's a fit for this. Now I'm like, what? Why are they taking Proctor?
Well, because I think you got to look bigger picture with Proctor. If he's a bad fit year 1 as a guard, so be it. I'm looking at that guy to get out to the tackle when Lane Johnson is gone. That's what I'm looking for with Proctor.
Well, maybe
he's a left tackle in college.
That's I don't think the Eagles are in that position to take a luxury pick at 23rd.
That's
and
fair.
If he's not going to play,
yeah. But if he plays guard, well, I guess he'd have to be an improvement from Steen for it to make sense.
Yeah. I don't think they want to take somebody who's not going to play at 23 overall. Just my thought on it. So, if he's not, yeah, it is tougher because you knew they were looking for a certain style with Stout and the critical factors that he calls them, that he's told us what he looks for. Year in and year out, and now it's changed. How much has it changed? We don't know yet, so it does make it more difficult.
We'll see what ends up happening with the offensive tackle position this year for the Eagles offseason. John, let's roll in our next position here, edge rusher. John, this is pretty interesting with the edge rushers. Another one where it feels like if Jalen Phillips isn't signed, round one. Now, if AJ's gone and Jalen Phillips is gone, all right, now we got some tougher problems, tougher needles to thread, so to speak. But if Phillips is gone, I think this becomes way bigger of a deal. But even if Phillips is back, let's just assume Phillips is back for the sake of this beginning of this conversation. Where do you think they would draft an edge, if any, if Phillips is back?
If he's back, I don't think it's a necessity at all. You might not even draft one.
Pretty good depth if he's back, right? I mean,
yeah.
If Nolan, you have Jalix, you got. Is that it? Is that the three? That's that all?
Well, that's the three main ones. That's I mean, they will. Brandon says he wants to come back. I don't know where they are with that.
I don't think they're going to bring him back.
I wouldn't, but obviously he's got tremendous history with the team. And he still played at a high level, and the minimal snaps that he got, he can still do it. So they definitely, to me, wouldn't look at the position till day 3, and then they might draft somebody with Jalen Phillips. Without Jalen Phillips, it's Katie bar to the door, man. They got to get somebody.
Yeah.
And, it might be trade. It might be Max Crosby. It might be splash. It might be, big time. And draft wise, it would be it's a valuable position. So it would race to the top of the charts. And that's another position that DJ said is very deep. So, I mean, but are you going to count on, I know he spoke highly of Akheem Mesidor yesterday. Are you going to count on somebody like that coming in right away? And he's older, which is typically not the way the Eagles like to do things. He's 25. But DJ said he's one of his favorite players in the whole draft. He can play outside. He can play inside. He's violent. He's talking about dominating guards when he moved inside. So he's an interesting player.
Wait, who'd you say there? Mesidor? Akheem?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Miami kid. He's good. Obviously, it's Daniel Jeremiah likes him.
Yeah.
What do you think his range is? Like right in that Eagles range, 23, or do you think he's a second?
Yeah, I think he's anywhere from 20 to 40 range.
Yeah, one of those bubble players, kind of.
Yeah. His age might hurt him.
Yeah, he's older.
But
what's he? 6-year senior, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, the COVID year, you have all these older guys coming.
Is that ever going to end? It's 2026. When is that thing over? Who knows?
So many guys stand now, and it's just college is a mess. But
I got to get to my boy Vitality. I knew you were going to appear when I brought up his name. You mentioned Zion Young out of Missouri. I saw that. I actually like him, maybe potentially in round 2 or 3.
The Mizzou guys never scout the helmet. I know you can't do that.
Oh no, Vitality's big Missouri guy.
I know. I know. That's why I said it. Never scout the helmet. Never scout the helmet. But Zion Young, yeah, I don't think he'd be in the mix for a first round pick.
No, he's day 2, maybe even day 3. I think for him. Big pressure rate. I think I was reading up on the edge rushers yesterday. So big pressure rate for Zion.
But I don't think any of those players. I don't think they're looking for edge on day 1 and day 2 if they get Phillips back. Day 3.
I mean, in theory, if Phillips gets a Milton Williams size deal from some team in free agency, that's not as good.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If they don't get him back, then they gotta do something drastic. And the problem is, even if somebody like Cassius Howell or Keldrick Falk drops to 23, TJ Parker maybe from Clemson, are they really You're going to count on them to be the centerpiece of a pass rush in year one? I guess it's possible, but I think they'd go the Max Crosby route if you can pry him away from Las Vegas, and I don't think they want to pry him away from Las Vegas, so I think they're going to sign Jalen Phillips. I refuse to believe they're going to let Jalen Phillips out of that building after giving up a third-round pick for him.
I agree with you. And that was one of the best points you brought up. I mean, that's just not Howie-esque. You trade a third-round pick in week 8 or 9 or whatever the heck it was, week 10, I think it might have been. What was his first game? It was the Lions game, right? Was it the Lions, or maybe it was the Packers game? One of those low-scoring games.
No, I think it was the Packers game. Yeah,
Packers game. Yeah, I think they won that game.
To double check.
Or something.
Yeah, he was great too, as a matter of fact.
Yeah,
in that game.
All right, John. Next up position. We'll see what they end up doing there. I think that was a pretty good rundown.
What I remember real quick, what I remember at the Packers game was Vic just torpedoing 57 stories on Moro Ajomo calling out the play. We're all excited to write about Moro Ajomo because Moro's a really smart dude, man. He went to college when he was like 16.
Mm-hmm.
And Vic's like, that's pretty common. We're like, come on, dude, give us something. Vic's great, but man, that was harsh.
Yeah, sometimes you can throw the towel over the fire, if you will. All right, John. So good stuff there in the edge rusher. Let's keep moving. Couple more positions I want to get to today, just to give people the rundown. I don't feel like we've given the full, kind of rundown of all the positions that the Eagles could be targeting. So I wanted to do that today on a Football Friday. I hope everybody's enjoying the segment. I appreciate you being here. Let's go to cornerback, John. I've heard some people talk about corner potentially high. I don't think they would do that, but I wouldn't rule it out completely because, hey, you get a good value and, you got a cornerback for 4 years that's cheap and effective, because it's not all that cheap to get a corner too on the open market. Isaiah Rodgers made $15 million. So maybe Howie looks at it that way. Corner, what do you think, John? Where do you think they would go corner, if at all? And what's kind of your early thoughts on the cornerback position in this NFL draft?
Yeah, I don't take corner too seriously at the top of the draft. I just can't, after listening to Howie say, kind of snicker at people.
Yeah.
Kind
of gave you all you needed to know, right?
Yeah. Kind of a weakness when you have Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, it's not a weakness. And as I explained, the Eagles' philosophy, no middle class, and that's why they didn't get Isaiah Rodgers back, although they were trying. Maybe they would have had two. It's either stars or, young guys on cost-effective contracts, which is what they have now with Quinyon and Cooper. And the fill-ins, which they had with Adoree Jackson, and they could always bring Adoree Jackson back. Plus, they have some younger bodies as well. Keely Ringo still, Jacorian Bennett still. So I don't think it's nearly as big a need as people think it is. Especially when you compare it contextually to the rest of the league. It's not like anybody out there is throwing out 3 top-tier corners. The freaking Seahawks won the Super Bowl with Josh Jobe as a starter.
Yeah. And who did we move on from him for again? That was Desai, wasn't it?
Well, he was not. I mean, I'm not going to blame that on.
Hey, you just told me a story where Howie had to fix.
But also Sean Desai's not cutting players.
No, but he might not have known what to do with the player. He might not have known what to do with the damn player.
Yeah, come on. The Eagles have better cornerbacks. That's my point. I mean, people conflate this stuff. They had a good scheme, good system, played well in the scheme, in the system. He's not a top tier cornerback. He's not.
No, but
nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that either, by the way. But I think people, just get caught up in, Well, he won the Super Bowl. Oh, well, so,
John, are they done with Ringo?
No, he's under contract. He's a great special teams player.
No, I don't mean done. I don't mean done on completely like moving on from him. I mean done as last year he came into camp and the start of the season and the cornerback battle. Does that exist? And is Keely Ringo even mentioned?
I don't. From just watching the way Vic handled it, I don't think he's going to have to re-win Vic Fangio. He's going to have to make him reconsider him. So I don't think it's positive right now. But he'll be out at practice. He'll get his reps, and if he starts to play better for whatever reason, he'll get involved. I'm not even sure if he likes Jacorian Bennett or Mac McWilliams. It certainly seems like he didn't. So Vic can be hard on those guys. And maybe you have to get another Adoree Jackson type, maybe even Adoree Jackson, to hold down the other slot. But that's good. That's not the reason they lost this year because of the cornerback play. I'll tell you that.
No, it's not. As much as people wanted to rip it, I actually thought second half of the year,
it was good.
It was good. I mean, if you're not hearing, that cornerback getting picked on all day, I think it's good. And I thought, I think I heard more in the playoff game of Quinyon Mitchell getting beat than Adoree Jackson. Now obviously a lot.
Yeah, early Quinyon got beat.
Yeah, pick on Quinyon too much,
which is rare, but
yeah, I thought I would be okay with that actually. John, would you be all right with that if they brought back?
Yeah, I'd be fine. Like I say, you can't have 3-star cornerbacks. I guess you can, but it's rare. And they're certainly not going to go sign one, if you draft one. But again, they have too many other issues.
Well, what are the names in the draft, John? I mean, there's some big names. I forget who it was who mocked Avieon Terrell to the Eagles. Was it Danny Jeremiah?
Yeah, I've seen a couple good people do that.
I think Danny Jeremiah did it on his version 1. I think he only does a couple versions, but I don't know. I know somebody significant.
Well, I saw a couple people.
Both mocked him to the Eagles.
Yeah, I saw a couple people mock him to the Eagles, and I kind of snickered. Not that he's not a good player. I just they have too many more pressing issues. To me, would be a complete luxury pick. And then you add into, let's be honest. I mean, Vic ain't easy on young players as well, as you've seen with the young players they have. So you're going to have some issues with being a rookie in his defense to begin with, as you saw with Drew Makuba. Corner's not a position that I look at too seriously in the first round, but I know a number of people have mocked Avieon Terrell to the Eagles, so that'll get some juice, but I don't think it's realistic at all.
Any later round guys that you think could be an option, or anybody that stick out?
Well, later on, I mean, when you get to day 3, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they take anybody, but I don't even, even the third round, especially that last pick, which will be the comp pick. So you start talking about 100, 101, somewhere in that range, whatever it ends up being. And, it might start there where they start looking at a guy. So if they like somebody who falls, you might get your guy that way. But I don't think it's going to be those top 3 picks, which are 23, 54, whatever, and 60 something. I don't think you're going to see a cornerback that early.
John, they have what? They have 4 picks in the top 100. That's what it is, right? 4 picks in the top 100.
Well, we don't know the last one. It should be right around 100, so probably.
Right. All right, so that's interesting stuff. All right, John. 2 other positions I want to hit real quick. Safety. You had Makuba, and Reed is up in the air on whether he will be back or not. He's a free agent. We will find out on him. There's some insane safeties out there. I don't know if the Eagles are going to get them. They're getting Caleb Downs, as good as Caleb Downs is, but he's the blue chipper. He's probably a top 5 or top 10 pick. So you're not looking there. But maybe a round 2, a round 3, is that too rich for you? What do you see on safety in the draft? Because there are some really good-looking safeties, player-wise in the draft this year in round 2 and 3. I mean, there's the Penn State kid for all the Penn State truthers, Wheatley out there. There's there's another Toledo kid. There's the Oregon kid, Dylan Dynaman, I think his name is. There's some good players out there at safety. What do you think the Eagles do to address safety this summer in the draft?
Yeah, I think the Toledo kid's going in the first round. I think the Oregon kid's going in the first round too. I think there's going to be 3 safeties in the first round. Just my thoughts early on it. Yeah, I think that Toledo kid might go higher than people realize. And I think people learned their lesson with Emin War. He kind of fell a little bit. He's freaking great.
Yeah, really good.
They have such an impact. I talk about safety all the time. That's a position they don't value, and they have such an impact on the game. It makes no sense. But I think those 3 guys are going to be there. It all changes. If you don't have Reed, then it becomes a tremendous necessity. If you're a Reed, I think you're out of that top 3 rounds at safety, because Makuba is obviously going to be back and starter, and you have both starters locked up. So then you start talking about day 3. And maybe Wheatley for the Penn State people, maybe he falls into the top of the 4th round.
Yeah, right.
Where are they? They don't have a 4th round pick though, do they? Where are they? I got to look at their picks again. I know they have projected to have 2 5th round picks. Got to look at their draft picks again. So anyway, to me, it's and Howie's already talked about this, is that they have their own pick. So they do have a 4th round pick, which is, later because they're good. And they should get a comp in the 4th round as well. So they should have 2 4s and 2 5s, and then they don't have a 6 or a 7. So, if somebody like Wheatley falls into the 4th round, that could be a pick. Bud Clark, does that get you excited from TCU? Genesis Smith from Arizona, some of these guys. Jalen Stroman from Notre Dame, he's in that range. Maybe that type of player who could, and don't turn your head at 4th round picks. They can turn into some pretty good players, especially depth wise early.
Well, actually, the more we talk about safety, I mean, I could see them using a 2nd round, I mean, let's just say that Toledo kid falls to round 2. I don't think he'd fall to where the Eagles are, though. Yeah, that'd be a tough one. But I mean, if Reed walks, John, I could see them doing a little bit of a splash here.
If Reed walks, it changes things. But I don't think he's.
Well, do you think Reed's going to walk? I mean, they haven't paid him to this point. I mean,
No, I think he'll be back. But if he does walk, yeah, it changes the arithmetic. There's a lot of positions, but Howie's in offense mode in the draft. I know that. He's already said it.
Okay.
And they've done a lot of defense, man. A lot of defense.
So this isn't happening. Gabriel, thanks for being here. He says, cornerback 1st pick, tackle 2nd pick, and edge 3rd pick. That's 2 defensive players in the top 3.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
Yeah.
They haven't taken I got to look it up. I think the last offensive player they've taken it with a premium pick.
Smitty,
Tyler
right?
Steen?
Yeah, I guess that's premium. That's round 3, right?
Yeah, well, that's
premium.
What NFL definition. Top 3 rounds are premium picks. They haven't taken an offensive stinking player since Tyler Steen. Jahad Campbell, yeah, that's correct. Jahad Campbell, Drew Makuba last year. 2024, it was Mitchell, DeJean, and Hunt. 2023, Carter, Smith, Steen, and Sidney Brown. So 3 of the 4 defenders. 2022 was Jordan Davis, Cam Jurgens, Nakobe Dean. So 2 of 3. And then 2021 is the Devontae Landon year. It's been a long freaking time. You're worried about why the offense is declining? It's been a long fucking time. They've ignored that offense, and they're playing a bunch of old guys by NFL standards.
Well,
You guys got to get
one player over 30 last year, John.
You guys got to bet 30, as you see with Dallas Goedert. 31 is, you might as well be walking with a cane as far as the NFL.
Him and Lane were the only guys over 30, weren't they? They're not that old. You're talking about them like they're the geriatrics.
How much football has Landon Dickerson played?
Yeah, well, that's fair. I can't dispute that, but I mean, he's what?
I mean,
Cam's 26, AJ's 28, Devontae's 26.
You go 1, 2, 3. You go 3 years with taking one player on offense in the National Football League. Yeah,
I'm not disputing that. I'm just laughing at the way you framed it up, like the offense is. I mean, they're not that old, John.
They're descending. Life moves quick in the National Football League. Right. It is a young man's league. Why does everybody loves Quinyon and Cooper and Jalix? Everybody loves Jalen Carter and to a certain degree Nolan Smith. Everybody loves Jordan Davis now. What do they have in common?
I'm not pushing back on you. I'm just laughing more because it's like, oh shit, you're not wrong. They look like they're descending, but Devontae Smith's 26 or 27. Jalen Hurts is 27. AJ Brown's 28.
You gotta keep going, man. I'm telling you, that is Howie fucking said it. I mean, don't listen to me. Go back and read Howie's transcript.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys act like the offense is a fucking stasis. I say this all the time. Like it never moves. Oh, those guys are great. Don't worry about that side of the ball. Well, you got to worry about that side of the ball. Howie's worried about it. I'm not saying they're in Social Security. I'm not talking about real life. They're young people. The NFL moves quickly.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm not. I just thought it was funny. I mean, I don't think you're wrong, but I still think it was funny the way that you.
Well, I should have used descending, more than age, because it's not about age, it's about descent.
That's fair. All right, John, let's last position to look at here is quarterback. They always like to draft a quarterback, so they say they do. There is a lot of picks in the mid-round, but boy, we talked about it with Rick Saratelli yesterday. Not many of them are very exciting. I mean, Drew Aller, you said, is maybe the most enticing option. I don't know if I disagree with you. Rick Saratelli texted us Cole Payton after maybe a round 3 guy. Is he a sleeper to be higher? Maybe. You got Talon Green from Arkansas, another big dude, 6'6", monster frame. You got the Illinois quarterback, Luke Altmaier. You got Sawyer Robinson out of Baylor. You got Carson Beck out of Miami. Any of these sound exciting in the later rounds for the Eagles, John, as a future backup? What do you think?
Boy, I don't know if it was the names you just ran up, but I just got nauseous. This is an awful quarterback class. This is an awful quarterback class.
Really
I mean, I hate to point it that way because, I mean, it starts at number 1 overall. We all know who's going number 1 overall.
Yeah.
But he shouldn't be there.
How many QBs are even going to go in round 1? 1?
I think 1 should go. I think 2 probably will go.
I don't know, dude. I don't think
maybe even 3, because people are so quarterback desperate and they talk themselves into things. But it wouldn't surprise me if it's only 1. Teams come to their senses. And then after Nussmeier, it just drops off a table. Like, I like Nussmeier. I think he could end up being the best quarterback in this draft long term. I think he can play. Everybody else is just ugh. I'm sure there'll be a Tyler Shuck out there, maybe Talon Green. He's 6'6".
He's got the frame and stuff. He's actually pretty mobile for his size too.
I'm sure some of those old guys, the North Dakota State kid Rick mentioned, Cole Payton. Maybe he's got some juice. But on paper, it looks like a bad quarterback class.
Yeah. Where do you think Carson Beck goes? Round 3, 2, 4?
The UFL? I don't know.
Oh man.
Strays. He'll go. He'll go 3rd, 4th round, somewhere in that range. No, he's a decent prospect, but he's not going to wow
I'm with
you.
I'm not all that impressed, but it's just a funny response.
I think ultimately he might be in the UFL if the UFL keeps going. If I'm the Eagles, I look at Drew Aller and say, if you're cocky enough to think you can tap into some of his physical gifts, people were talking up him like he was a potential top 10 pick because of those physical gifts. And obviously he was a disaster. Sorry, Jeff, if you're listening. Disaster at Penn State. But if you can tap into it, he's a guy I'd take on day 3. But I can't. The only guy I would take in the first 2 days is Nussmeier. And I don't see how I don't see how the Eagles get him. He's in a spot where I think they're not going to take him at 23, and I don't think he'll last to 54.
Where do you think Drew Aller goes? 5?
I would think 4, but quarterbacks tend to get pushed up the board. Yeah. It wouldn't shock me if he goes in the 3rd round.
No, me neither.
But it wouldn't shock me. Honestly, it wouldn't shock me if he goes in the 2nd round. Would shock me if he goes in the 1st round.
He had the big injury. I mean, it did happen early in the year, so that's probably good for him. But
I don't like your guy at all, Ty Simpson. He might go in the 1st round. There's no way that guy's a 1st round pick. 0.
He's got some good traits, but I'm with you.
He's not accurate. He's that style of quarterback. You better be accurate. I think there's more excuses, and Rick Saratella mentioned a couple of them for Garrett Nussmeier. Brian Kelly's an idiot, number 1. I've never seen a more unliked coach.
Yeah, listening to Rick on that yesterday was interesting on how he handled Nussmeier.
So I think there's some, if that's, outside of Mendoza, if that's to me the quarterback I would focus on. If I were a team in the 1st round, never, later, obviously in the 1st round. But I think, I don't think there's any way, obviously you're going to take him at 23, and I don't think there's any way he gets to 54, but he'd be the guy for me.
All right, good stuff there. I think we got all the position. John, I think that was a pretty good comprehensive rundown of